I concur. I love you very much. Isn't that right? Hi guys.
Mm.
Io. We got
I just
Blaze and Dagoth, and kick us off there, Druid.
hello and welcome to Bandwidth and Banter. Woo.
Right on. Hell yeah. I would
I didn't
love.
know.
I would. I would love to figure out how we could actually have the music playing before the stream.
I was literally thinking the same thing when I was pouring my coffee. I was
Mm.
like,
Hmm.
we should try to have the song playing
I
and then
mean,
just
if
waiting.
yeah,
Stream
if
starting soon.
Banana Tom figured out a way to have music playing during his stream starting soon thing, so I need to chat with him about that. Pick his brain. I don't know if he's in chat. He's probably playing right now, so probably not in chat. But hopefully he'll join us soon. The Dagoth man is
Probably
here.
lurking.
How goes your queue, Dagoth? Did you finally get in? Yeah, we're all on still playing. Right on. So you finally got in? For folks just tuning in, what we're talking about is earlier today, myself and Banana Tom and Nelladoodle were streaming the Diablo 4 pre-beta beta. And Dagoth was trying to queue in, but he was sitting in a 70-minute queue. So he must have finally made his way in, which is excellent. We'll be joining him after Bandwidth and Banter, a little bit after Bandwidth and Banter, and for some more Diablo 4 streaming tonight. But today we got some special stuff, don't we? Tell the folks what we got there, Druid.
Today we are discussing the Storm Saga Games TTRPG creation, and I'm super excited. I'm so excited.
Me too.
I'm so excited that I have been talking about it with humans in real life.
Really?
Yes. And they're like, ooh, that's exciting. Something that, and so of course I have gotten a lot of feedback from people about what they would enjoy seeing.
Oh.
And I was just like, I could pitch those ideas as concepts and stepping off points for possible whatever. But today we're going to be talking mostly about the point allocation system.
Right.
And
the ability point, basically the ability scores.
Yeah. Yep, the point allocation system, aka stat point progression system. I wrote that weird, so I couldn't read it very well. And then new ability score names.
Yeah. I think that would be a nice jumping off point. And I remember you had some notes that I wanted to mention. What was it again? Something to the effect of
what and why of a new system.
Gotcha. Well,
or of the new stat system. Why do you want to go with this point allocation system versus any other kind of system?
Right. Okay. That's good. So basically, I've been mulling this over for a long time, ever since I first started, and it actually kind of starts with my initial misunderstanding of the very first basic and expert ability score stat setup. Okay. And what I mean by that is when I first started playing basic and expert Dungeons and Dragons in 1981, when you first make your character, you roll the D6 dice, and then those are your stats. It's usually, back then it was just very simple, 3d6. And so you could end up with these really terrible characters, or if you got super lucky, really OP characters. And then over time, they developed improved versions of that for the various editions. Basically, depending on the DM and the player style, how adding one of the more basic ones that are typically used is roll 4d6, drop the lowest die, and then put the number wherever you want. And then some DMs get a little more aggressive and they say reroll ones, and some like myself get too aggressive probably and do reroll ones and twos. But I like my adventuring party to feel like superheroes.
Yeah. And then you took the average, and then you also took the average of what Star Kitty's really high rolls and like gave us extra points to allocate because of Star Kitty's really high rolls.
Yeah, Star Kitty has this strange knack for being able to just roll crazy, and so but because of that, it basically created a curve for the rest of the group, right? And so when you think about it as a curve, then it's really just about point spread. It's about you know, spreading the points and point buy, like a point buy system. By the way, before we continue. Twitch is telling me that we have kind of that I'm in the red with the bit stream. How does it feel to you guys? Does it sound and look all right? Is it pixelated? Is the audio okay? I'm just curious from folks in chat if you're experiencing any anomalies. Do we need to restart, or is it okay? Because sometimes it'll give me this red bit rate and it's okay anyway.
Yeah, because visually on the stream we look really good.
Okay. I mean, luckily just chatting does not tax the system at all. It's just sending one feed of audio and video, whereas when you have a game you have to send the high frame rate stuff through. So man, I hope we haven't distracted. Come on, Dagoth, you need to get Banana Tom and folks over to share here in Bandwidth and Banter. I know you're having fun with Diablo 4, and trust me, I want to be with you too. But we need your help for B&B guys. Come on over. No pressure, even though I'm pressured.
No pressure, but get your ass over here.
No pressure, but pressure.
So I guess the question to start with is why do you want to do this kind of a point allocation stat system?
Yeah, right. Back to what I was saying. Sorry, I got off on a tangent. I do that sometimes.
That's okay. That's why I have notes.
When I was younger, because I have a misunderstanding of the system, whenever I leveled up, I would give my character. And for some reason, I got it in my head. I mean, I was a kid. I was a little kid the first time playing it. Didn't have anybody to teach me. I taught it to myself, right? And I didn't really understand everything that I was reading. And so, oh, thanks, Star Kitty. way to make us feel guilty. I know she's just playing. But because I didn't understand the way it worked, every time I leveled up, I gave myself an additional ability point for all the abilities every time I leveled up, right? And so in a short period of time, just a few levels, all my ability scores were 18s, right? And so, but when I eventually learned that it didn't work that way, I was kind of like, okay, well, I sort of get that your characters aren't OP that way. It's more balanced, but I also liked the idea that it feels like your character actually is getting more powerful, right? I mean, if you think about it in real world terms, as you as a human being become more experienced in life, practicing certain things, your ability scores would kind of go up, right? For example, let's say you're a warrior. The more you swing your sword and carry around your heavy armor and carry around your backpack and bash against monsters, your strength is going to go up. Your constitution is going to go up because you're going to be able to take more hits. That kind of thing. And then if you're like a mage, right? You're studying more. You're understanding the universe more and how your magic interacts with the world, and so your intelligence will go up. If you're like a cleric, your wisdom goes up because as you gain experience, you understand, different aspects of how all the forces of the universe work together, right? And as a rogue, the more you're practicing your pickpocketing or your lock picking or your trap disabling, those skills, the dexterity is going to go up with those. And if you're the fast talker, right, you're going to get better at it. So it makes sense that those ability scores would go up. And so conceptually, my idea is that and obviously in the systems that exist in D&D now, 3.5 and 5th ed, they take that into account, right?
Yeah.
With 5th ed, it's every 4 levels you get either a feat or 2 ability points to spend, right? Yeah. Well, my thinking is that, I mean, I get that's sort of balanced, right? But and they did a lot of play testing, I'm sure, to balance that, to come up with that system, and it works for 5th ed. In 3.5, it was something similar. Feats actually came in a different progression level. I think feats were every 3 levels, and ability scores were every 1 level or every 4 levels, or something to that effect. I off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly, but I might have them flip-flopped. But the point is you get feats and you get ability scores. With 5th ed, you got to do one or the other. And so that feels like a little hollow, right? And granted, with 5th ed, your character gets a lot more interesting abilities. 3.5 has that too. But with 5th ed, you get even more interesting abilities that are specific to your character class. And those things are fine too, right? But I feel like that over the years of playing multiple different kinds of RPGs and multiple different iterations of D&D, that we need to, there's a way you can make the ability score increase over time of your character every single level. And there just needs to come, you need to be able to create a balanced point system to make that work, right? And so that's how I conceived of this idea that, because here's the thing. You want your characters at some point to start to feel very powerful. You want them to feel like superheroes. Now I get that some systems make them feel like that right off the bat, which is a fun, different kind of experience. Some people may not want that though. They want it to feel more earned.
Yeah.
And so that's where this kind of idea sprung into my mind over the years that, well, what if you start out with a baseline of 10? All your ability scores are average human, or average, they're a baseline average of 10. And except, when you're at 0 level, when you're basically like a peasant, or just a commoner, you're just like a regular person with no adventuring profession, right? Everything's baseline 10. And now you might have a particular race where you get a bonus. And that's something that we'll have to balance when we create this system, right? But so what I'm getting at is I feel like that once you become a level 1 character, at that point, you should have some number of points to spend, and you get to put them in the ability scores where you want. And now, here's the thing. You may also, there's 2 ways to look at it. If you want to be overly realistic, then you would really only put those ability score points into the types of things that you're using, right? But
yeah, because
go ahead.
So for example, with a druid class, wisdom, I would want to add points to wisdom and to dexterity, right?
Depending on how many points you get, correct, right. Yeah. Yes, that's the idea. Or it may not be dexterity, it could also be con, right? Maybe you want to be a more tanky con, or it also depends on, but see, it's funny that we're having this conversation, so I like it, because pulling back at it, I'm like, all right, well, maybe the way it should be then is you have a number of points, and some portion of those points you spend on something that makes sense for that character class, and then the other points you spend on whatever you want. So that way you can slowly raise and differentiate your character from the typical one, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the ideal setup that I came up with is you start out where, when you become a level, when you choose to start playing, you're going to start out as a first level character, right? You should be able to spend 3 points, but it needs to be broken up into 2 sets. You have to have 2 points that should be spent on something that is, one of your 2 core class abilities. And then you have 1 point that you can spend wherever you want. And then, it does mean that those first few levels are going to be a lot harder because you have very few bonuses to choose from, right? And so, like for example, if you're playing a warrior, a first level warrior, all your stats, all your ability scores start out at 10. But then as a first level warrior, you get to take 2 points, you can either put 2 points into one ability score, like 2 points into strength, or you could do 1 into strength and 1 into con, which wouldn't be very great unless you planned on doing the same thing the next level up, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't get any special bonuses. But I don't know, you could go either way. I guess it really comes down to the smart thing. The smart play would be to pick one or the other to put 2 in. And then 1 point. That third point needs to be in something else. Now, it can still be in a class-specific ability. For example, if you want to throw it into con, you could. But for more role-playing and more rounded kind of stuff, you could put it wherever you want, right? Yeah. And I think also it might be worthwhile to differentiate the different races. There's the different character, races, the fantasy races might have a predilection in a certain direction. So maybe I don't know, the problem with that idea, that's something we'll need to actually talk about, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's a whole separate, down the rabbit hole. I'm just going to make a note a couple pages ahead.
That racial characteristics may or may not make a difference in the ability score. What do you think, based upon everything that I've shared so far, Druid? I've been yammering a lot. I want to hear.
No. So I really do like the point system. The thing about the racial thing, so like people are going to expect some sort of racial bonuses for most things, but I feel like those should all be like dark vision. I think it should be like passive things that so they're like they make a difference. Cause like, the tiefling, they innately are drawn to magic, and all tieflings are able to do hellish rebuke.
Well, keep in mind though, that's specific to obviously D&D, that particular race.
Yeah, but I'm just using that as an example.
As an example, right. Sorry. Go ahead.
So then all of like the elvish races, they only need to have 4 hours of meditation, not 8 hours of sleep. So like I feel like it should stay in those kind of aspects when it comes to like the racial characteristics, not so much like the stat points. Something I did want to talk to you about when it came to like the point allocation, I wanted to run this by you because I was talking to Fade about it, and it sticks with this theme. And it could be fun for like role play and stuff. So I'm just gonna pitch this idea to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I am gonna just use Fern as an example.
Okay.
But let's say that we had a rogue in the party.
Okay.
And we're playing this little stats system. So what if like all of our skills so like technically Fern has a +3 to sleight of hand, which I don't think is at all true whatsoever. Though she's sneaky and dexterous, she has real no skills in sleight of hand or like pickpocketing. But if she has somebody to teach her, so then that would just, and then just because she has it, so like, okay, hold on, let me find a better way to explain this.
Okay. I was going to say the only reason she has +3 to sleight of hand is because she has a 16 dexterity, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's like the idea that's kind of the baked into the system, such that it's the idea that because she's already rather dexterous, she's sort of in that regard a prodigy to a certain level of it because she's dexterous. It's just natural that she can fiddle with things better.
But let's say like on the side of the, so like let's say like we have all of our skills, so like sleight of hand check, animal handling, acrobatics, all that stuff. And then we have like so like I could practice sleight of hand and then I just put a little tally next to it.
Okay.
Whether it's a fail or success, I practice this skill.
Yeah.
And then I need 10 tallies.
10 what?
And then I would need like, I'm going to just throw out a number like 10 tallies. And then when I get that next level up, I can transition those tallies to a plus.
I see where you're going with that. And the only counter I would make to that is the only reason why that hasn't been introduced to tabletop RPGs is because of how much extra tracking and number crunching it would require of players. I am sure that there are certain players out there who would love an extra complex system like that. And it would work in a computer RPG because the computer can keep track of all that for you, right? But think about the players having to keep track of every time they've used a skill and keep track of all the math of leveling those up. It adds such a whole extra layer to the process of leveling up and of keeping track of what you're doing with your character, that in the long run for a TTRPG on the tabletop, it actually would end up detracting from some of the actual fun. And so that's why the folks over time that have developed D&D from the original BX all the way through to 5th Ed have not done that. It's because they realize this sad but true fact, which is that if you introduced too many tracking mechanics, that it ends up, you spend too much time working on that kind of stuff instead of actually just playing. And so then what happens is the level ups kind of take care of that stuff, and you just get to, if you think about it, it's in a way it's almost the same thing, right? You're just adding in an extra tracker to what the system already kind of figures out as you level up, and it's like the system assumes that if you're a rogue, you're going to be using your sleight of hand ability. And so because you're using it as a rogue, that's what you normally would put more skills into. The interesting thing that you bring up though is that in 3.5 they actually did that better than in 5th Ed. Like 5th Ed really dumbed it down, really simplified it.
Yeah.
In 3.5 was kind of overly complicated though. In 3.5, each different character class gets a pool of skill points that they get based upon their character class, and some are more than others. For example, a rogue, I believe, gets like I forget what it is, but it's like you get effectively like 8 plus your intelligence modifier in skill points that you can spend. I don't know why I'm spitting there. That you can spend wherever you want to on your skills. And you technically don't even have to use them on thief skills or the ones that you use throughout the campaign, right? You can spend them wherever you want. So imagine that. So you're getting a rogue who spends, roughly 10 to 12 points, skill points, wherever they want, right? Whereas a fighter only gets 4 plus their intelligence modifier. So they're going to get at most half of what a rogue gets. So the rogue is going to end up having lots more skills and lots more granularity there. So like that's one of the things I sort of liked about 3.5, but I do understand why they simplified it for 5th ed for newer players.
Yeah.
Both are a more both are great systems for different reasons. And I'm pretty sure Pathfinder is probably something super similar to 3.5 as far as the skills go. So Iltacin's here, oof, and there were class skills and cross-class skills. Cross-class, you only got half the points you put in. Yes, so he's right about that. What that means is let's say that rogue has 12 points to spend, and he wants to put it into intimidation. I think that's a cross-class skill. This might be a bad example, but let's say there's some sort of skill for rogues that's a cross-class skill. What that means is it's not their normal class skill. It's something that would be a primary class skill for like somebody else. You can actually spend points to gain skills in that, but you spend them at a 2-to-1 ratio. So you have to spend 2 to get 1 in that cross-class skill.
Oh, okay.
So again, it added a lot of complexity, and I do understand why in 5th ed they kind of reduced that complexity. But I also feel like maybe they swung the pendulum a bit too far. Technically, we're kind of off on a tangent because we're talking about skills instead of ability scores. But I actually don't mind because it's something we can make a note of to talk about in the future because it is something that will.
Yeah, because
Go ahead.
because for me, because like it's one of those things like every time Emmeline performs at the Castaway Inn, Fern is like dancing with her and doing all this stuff. But I still only have a +1 to performance.
Right.
Like how nice would it be to have like something where even though I am not charismatic, I can still work on my performance skill as a backup dancer for Emmeline and actually start working on like adding and tallying, like because I'm specifically working on this. So like I'm specifically every single time Emmeline performs, I can tally, and like this is something that I'm slowly working on is my performance.
Right.
That's completely out of the realm of what Fern is at all capable of doing.
Right.
But she's like, I'm actively dancing. I'm actively learning how to perform. I'm hanging out and watching Emmeline Ray, paying attention.
Right.
Right.
Right. No, I get you. You're 100% right. I almost wonder if that's something that should be its own separate mechanic because that's never been done in a D&D game that I'm aware of where, of course, it's always about, a DM would offer either experience points or milestones, right, to level up, right? What you're suggesting is almost like a separate XP system for skills.
Yeah.
So it would actually have to be like a separate reward. And I occasionally, you guys, I don't know if I've done this in your campaign or not. Probably not, but I have occasionally done that. You can ask our other players, where if somebody is doing something unique and interesting and practicing it enough, I will reward. Like if they go to a mentor to go get taught how to ride horses better, they can throw a few skill points into horse riding, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what you're saying. And so I feel like that is something that should exist in our TTRPG, but maybe instead of it being tied to our level up, it needs to be tied to encounters or experiences. It should be like a separate system, almost a separate kind of reward.
Yeah, because and it would be another fun thing, another tool for players when it comes to like RP. So like, like because Fern really is paying attention to and trying to learn from Miss Ray. And so she's actively like working on something like that. Every time Miss Ray performs, Fern is her biggest fan and she's dancing and this is what's happening. She's she's gonna get better over time.
Right.
Like technically, if you think about it, she would get better over time.
Well,
But like the system,
the way 5th Ed tries to solve that, and it does a decent job, is the proficiency system, right? It's the idea that every few levels you get to add proficiency. And so basically, if you have a skill that you decide you want to become proficient in, you add your proficiency bonus on to the ability score. And so you are now, it's a skill that you're proficient in, right? So that's how it handles it. So there are, in a way, there is a way to put it in the system, and that's that you can actually pick as a feat, I believe it's skilled, is one of the feats. And it'll basically let you pick a couple of skills that are you become proficient in that you weren't before, and then you can have one that's an expertise where you get double proficiency. So there are systems in place to try and make it work, and I'm with you that we need to come up with something. And I like that you brought that up. So definitely make a big point of that. By the way, hello, Iltacine. Welcome in.
Iltacine.
But
all right.
Yeah, like I guess we should probably get back on topic as far as the ability scores.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think that the ability scores. So here's the thing. Doing the math on it, if we do 3 points per level, obviously you get to spend 3 points at level 1, right? When you become a level 1 character, you have 3 points to spend. And that if you do the math on that, then that means by level 11, you will have spent 33 points across all of your ability scores, right? And if you do the math on 33 spread out across the ability scores, let's see, it's strength, dex, con,
strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
So that's, you have 6 ability scores. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the problem is that, what was that?
I said I pulled up my character sheet.
Right on, that's handy. That's handy. So you're more prepared than I am. I think that the problem then with my system, my idea is that at level 11 you start to become really powerful. Like, because if you let's think about this for a second. So 33 points divided by 6 is, I got a calculator here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that there should be points given with every level up?
Well, that was my conception of it, right?
Okay.
So the answer is yes. I mean, I feel like the idea is that every level up, you get a reward. Because there are some levels that kind of suck. Right? They don't give you anything. It's kind of weak. It's like, it's just earning your way to the next level where you can actually get something good. Yeah. And that doesn't feel as good. You see, Altacine even agrees. He says a level up where you get nothing, like max hit points, is kind of disappointing. Exactly, it's kind of disappointing. And so I feel like every level should matter. And the problem is that after level 11, like, okay, so if you divide the 33 by 6, that means you're going to get 5.5 points per ability score by level 11. Obviously, you're going to be, pouring some of those into main scores. So,
so 2 questions.
Yeah. Please.
First question is there going to be a cap that you for ability scores that would be that you could naturally get? Like in D&D, it's 20. Would you consider having a cap, or would you consider it being like a higher cap? Like what is your concept of that?
Well, and that's a really good point. What we have to think about, what would the cap, let's say, for example, if we set the cap to 18, right, which was what it used to be in original old school BX and advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I think even second edition Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I think second edition it used Yeah, 18 was the cap. So let's do the math on that. So, well, 6 times 8 is 24. Wait a minute. So 8. Let's think about this a second. All right, I lost track of what we were saying. I mean, I know we're talking about cap, but
yeah. So what would the cap be? And then second is, do you want? So I agree. I feel like every level up should be exciting because our last level up, though we got cool new spells, that was basically it.
right.
You know, and I don't really remember the last time I had the ability to do a feat. I've just been doing ability score increases. The only feat that I've taken personally with Fern was skill expert.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, and I've just been taking ability score increases since then, which I personally enjoy that.
So
But it's
I want
not
to add
every
in.
time.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You didn't. What was your point you were getting to?
Oh, my point is, do you think that do you want to have do you want to give 3 points with every level up, or do you think it should be 3 points and then 1 point, like a little bit of a
That is one way we could balance it if we have to, but I just now did the math, and so the max, if let's say if we take 18 as a max, that means that once you get all 6 ability scores to 18, that would be 48 points, right? 6 times 8 is 48. And at level 11, you get to 33. The difference between the two of those is 15, which means in another 5 levels from level 11 up to level 16, it means that level 16 is when you will max all your ability scores. Do we think that that's good enough? And how would we, like, is it okay that our ability scores are maxed at level 18? Or excuse me, level 16, because those last few levels to level 20 are like, you know, you're getting into the super OP area, right? And then, you know, 20th is epic level, right? And and so, I mean, I guess what we could do is, maybe we get 3 points. No, because then what will happen is, you know, here's the wrinkle, right? If we do it that way, then that means that every single character, by the time that they are level 16, will all have the same ability scores. They'll all have max 18. What?
Iltasi makes a point. You could always use a different base for levels, so like 1 through 10 being normal, and then
it's like slow it down at certain points. Yeah, I can see that.
Because like by the time you're level, like right now we're level 13 and we're kicking ass, taking names, right? We're killing it. We're killing it.
It's true.
You know, so having like, but that grind to level 10, like you're like getting real big, getting doing some crazy stuff, and by level 10, like you're really proficient, and it's hard. Like once you're like you master something, it's hard to continue to master it. You can still get better. The auto like. No. There's already one dragon. No.
So, all right, you got me thinking, and I'm glad that we're discussing this because this helps me think of this. What about? So we need to figure out. Then I feel like it's okay if at level 20 all your ability scores are 18s, right? Because at level 20, you're basically at that point where like, okay, I'm at this point where I'm ascending to be a deity almost, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And anything above level 20 is epic level, right? And so it makes sense that I would be exceptional at everything. because I've spent so much time, I've survived the rigors. So maybe the key then is we figure out a way to slow down the progression at a certain point, right? And like at level 11, once you have spent, once you like, here's the reason why I came up with that level 11 part. Because remember how we figured out that Star Kitty is super lucky almost every time she rolls up characters, right? Yeah. She almost always hits somewhere between a 29 and a 32. What I mean by that is if you're rolling your character stats and you add up only the second numbers altogether, they usually add up to be between 29 and 32, which is, way more powerful than your average character, right? And so that's where I kind of came up with that number. What this system would do would allow you to have that, but only once you've earned level 11, right? You actually, if you think about it, this would be a lot harder granularity wise at the early levels because your ability scores are not juicy yet, right? You gotta really focus on the things that matter to that character during those first probably 5-6 levels, and then after that you can start branching out just a tad. And so that's why I like the idea of it. Now, once you hit level 11, you're starting to feel like, okay, yeah, these are way above average ability scores at level 9 through 11. And you're like, okay, these are really starting to be, like superhero quality. And but then beyond that, right, is where we start to run into.
It just skyrockets.
Yeah, it's an exponential kind of growth. That's why we would probably need to have the hump right there and slow it down. I mean, it could be something as simple as until level 15, you only get 2 points to spend. But then, all right, maybe that's still even too much. Or maybe, but here's the thing. I want it to have where you always get a reward all the way up through level 20. Yeah. Right? And so you can't just cut it off and do no more. You can do done and be done with it. Maybe at level 10 is where we start to slow it down. And so level 11 through 15, you only get 2 points. And then level, all right, this is going to require some math. So 3 points per level up to level 10 is 30 points, right? And then I need to get a piece of paper.
We're doing math today, guys. We're doing it.
We're making progress. What's funny is one of the other things that I really wanted to talk about today, if we have time. Oh, good. We got plenty of time. We got 45 minutes. So I definitely want to nail down today the names of the ability scores, since we want those to be different.
Yes.
All right. Yes. So, all right. Level 1 through 10 is 30 points, right? And then if we go 11 through 15 would be another, if we do 2 points per 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's 5. So that's another 10 points. So let's think about this. 40 points spent through those levels. 40 divided by 6. Means we're at 6.67.
6.666.
Yeah, so roughly 6.5 per ability score. So just kind of Dex, Con, Int, Wiz, Charisma. So 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily spread them out all that much, right? Some would have been more focused, but you would have gotten to the higher numbers at certain points. I think you're right. I think the cap, maybe there needs to not be a cap.
Or we could just say screw it and make the cap be 24.
I mean, okay, yeah, like that's fine. We could actually have a cap, but if you make it arbitrarily high, like 24, then well, maybe the cap needs to be at different stages of the level ups too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
levels 1 through 10, the cap is 18. Levels 11 through 15, the cap is 20. And levels 16 through 20, the cap is 22 or 24.
I don't know. I like 24. 24 makes me feel extra special. I don't know. There's something about the 24 where you're like, I am so cool. I'm so powerful.
Well, don't
But
forget
even though I'm only have my highest is a 22, but
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm happy with that. But there's just something so satisfying looking at Lorcris's character sheet and just seeing that 24 number on his character sheet for his strength. I'm like,
Well, keep in mind, that's not his actual ability score, though, right? That's only augmented by
because of the belt.
enchanted equipment he's wearing. Yes, so you can actually have higher than that. But we need to have a cap on what you can naturally get.
Yeah.
So,
right.
you know.
Next page.
So if we're doing 3 points for the first 10 levels and then 2 points for the next 5 levels, that would mean we would want to do 1 point for the next few levels. Will that be enough to get us to 18s throughout? So no, that would actually be, that would only be, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that'd be 5 more points. So that would only be 45. So that would mean that you were not maxing all of the ability scores by the time you hit level 20. But it does mean you get a point to spend somewhere throughout every single level. You know, you get multiple points. 3 points through level 10, then 2 points through level 15, then 1 point from 16 to 20.
Yeah.
I think that is, and it's okay if you haven't maxed every ability score. In fact, it actually is better, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it seems kind of, I mean, I guess obviously there are rare people in the world who are really good at everything, and they do exist. I had a guy I knew who was that way, and you know, but and it's a nice dream. It's a cool thing about a fantasy world. It's nice to dream that. I feel like if you have made it through 20 levels of what you have to go through in a fantasy setting to get to those 20 levels, you've earned the right to have maxed out ability scores, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, or at least close to max. I mean, you're only 3 away from a max. And obviously you're going to be getting gear that augments those abilities over time too. I kind of like this. I feel like this progression can work. I know how we can get to that last 48 though, too. It occurred to me. We could have where, and this would also make the early levels a little bit easier. Tell me what your thoughts on this are, the more I think, all right. So my idea is that every single race also has 3 points to spend.
Okay.
Right?
Racial points? 3 points of racial points? 3 racial?
The thing is that how do you, what they're going to be doing with the, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Those would be designated points though, I feel like. So, right?
You mean like for example, an orc is going to be stronger than an elf is going to be, you know, maybe faster or not faster, but like smarter, or a halfling
or have more like innate magical ability.
Well, that would be, how would you translate that into one of the ability scores then? Like intelligence or wisdom? Yeah. I mean, the way they do it now, or more specifically like 3.5, is, you know, yeah, like a half orc is going to have a boost to their strength, but they also have minuses. And here's another thing we should talk about. With this system, do we want to have a potential for any minuses? So what I mean by that is, so you start with a baseline of 10. Do we want to give the player the opportunity to start with a negative number, like a 9, you know, take 1 point away from one ability score, so you're below average on something, and put that into something else?
Absolutely. I
You
feel
think
like
so?
that should be an option. Especially with having like the flexibility um of the point system.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that should be an option because some people do want to have like I'm extra dumb,
Right.
but I'm really strong.
Yeah. Or I'm like super uncharismatic. Like I'm really people are turned off by me. I'm abrasive or something, and
Yeah.
so because of that I'm faster or whatever. I'm sneakier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotcha.
I don't want people to pay attention to me,
Mm-hmm.
so
Or I'm a wizard
that's
who's
fine.
like super weak or or
A
very
little
frail.
chunky.
Like I can barely pick up a stick, or I get sick easily. Like there's actually an interesting character from the book series called Raceland from the Dragonlance series, and he was interesting because he had a low constitution. He gets sick and easily and was like a glass cannon because he was a powerful mage, but couldn't take a hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like that is, I think you're right. I think that would add some extra customization to it to have where at the beginning character, it's your first level, you could pick an ability score and you take 1 point away from it and you put that one in somewhere else. But I don't think it should happen any other time except at the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's make a note of that. Beginning, and they don't have to do that either, right? When you build your character, you don't necessarily have to have a
beginning
minus, right?
option.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we want
Okay.
to make that a 1-to-1 ratio or a 2-to-1 ratio? Like make it you have to take away 2 points from something to give 1 point to something else.
Ooh.
Because effectively, it's the same regardless as far as the negative modifier. Because remember, the modifiers only apply at every even point, right?
Yeah.
So whether you have an 8 strength or a 9 strength, you're still only going to be a -1.
You want to keep that with the system as well?
That the minuses or that the every yeah, I think that works really well. I think that's one of the things that is one if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And sometimes there are certain parts of systems that are perfected, and that one is, I don't see a way to make that better.
Perfect. Just curious.
Yeah. So what do you think of my idea? 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Okay. That way, if they want to later on shore up that weakness in the character, it can be a role-playing thing where they slowly get smarter, or they slowly get wiser, or they slowly get stronger or healthier, et cetera, et cetera. And they actually have to just spend a couple of levels of that extra point to shore up that weakness. And plus, it makes it so that you really you really feel like you're earning that extra point that you get to put somewhere that other first level character doesn't have, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like this. So I feel like we're on the right track. We're on a good start for this. The other neat thing I forgot to mention about this point spread system. It's sort of a point buy system, but it's sort of, I don't know. What did I call it? Like you called it point buy, and I called it something else.
I kept calling it a point buy, and you're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. You called it point allocation system.
Right.
And you also called it the stat point progression system.
Right. So, I forgot what I was going to ask. What I was talking about.
Why?
Oh, yeah. It's simpler. instead of having to roll dice for your ability scores.
Yeah.
You know, like you take away, you give more choice to the player and take away randomness and take away, I mean, don't get me wrong, part of the role-playing experience is also the role-playing experience, right? You got to roll stuff, roll dice. We like to roll dice and kill things, right? But I feel like there are certain times where we don't really need to be rolling dice. Like, and that's the thing with the ability score per this point allocation system. You get to make your character faster. It's simpler to get into. You really understand it. It's like, oh, you got 3 points to spend. If you want to get an extra one, you got to take away 2 points somewhere, and then you'll have 4 points to spend. And you start off in your first level character. He's just barely above average, and let's say he's a warrior. He's barely above average in strength, and if you don't want to have any minuses, then he's just barely above average in con. And so you're going to start off, just kind of like these first few levels are going to be brutal. It's going to be a rougher experience when you're starting at first level, for sure.
Yeah. But it gets real exciting real quick, though.
That's true. That's true. That also means that the DM just needs to balance the encounters a little bit better, or the players need to be smarter about the challenges they take on, right? But like I said, I the other thing I liked about this point allocation system is that it simplifies the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. You want to rename the names?
Right.
You want to talk about
names? All right. Let's start off. I think strength can very easily just become power, because in a way, power is a more general, more vague, better. It encompasses more than just strength does. Strength only seems to be talking about like muscle strength, right? But strength is more than just that. Well, I get knowledge is power, but I would say that knowledge would actually be, I don't know. We definitely need to, like, there's lots of ways to view the words, the vocabulary of it.
Yeah.
So power is one option. It doesn't have to be power. It could be, I don't know. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but we can come back to it.
I'm just gonna.
Dexterity, we could also grab a thesaurus, yeah. Dexterity could be something similar. Prowess is another one. I like that, Eltasine. Fitness, prowess. Well, fitness would fit better for constitution, I think. Dexterity could easily be like agility, right?
I've seen it as agility.
Yeah. What I like about dexterity over agility, though, is dexterity actually is more all-encompassing. Dexterity is how dexterous you are with your fingers, right? But it's also how quick you are for dodging. Whereas agility only sounds like, I'm an agile person. You've met agile people who can't handle, things to save their life. So, no, you're right, Eldacine. We don't necessarily have to rename them all. But I want to. I feel like
vigor for strength, power, vigor. Vigor's a good one.
Well, vigor's not bad, but I think vigor actually is more akin to constitution too, because vigor is like life force, right?
That's true.
Actually, let's jump ahead to that then. I like vigor for constitution. I like that a lot. I think that's perfect.
Might for strength.
Might is good.
Is another good one. Might, strength, power.
I mean, might is very, very akin to power, right?
Bigerness.
What's a thesaurus word for agility?
Agility.
Speed. But that's also, it's a bit too...
Swiftness.
Did you say swiftness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fleetness. I'm just naming things that are on here.
Uh-huh.
Biochemical movement force.
Okay, there you go. That's so a him response.
Is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Fidgetiness.
Agility,
No,
so quickness, sharpness, swiftness.
ooh, sharpness. I've never seen that used in an RPG before. I kind of like that.
Sharpness.
What do you think of that, Iltacine? Is that like it has to evoke the idea of agility and dexterity right off the bat?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it won't resonate. It needs to resonate the way.
Yeah.
You know, what do we think? Is sharpness? Does it immediately? Do you think about? Sharpness could also be intelligence, though, too, huh?
I was gonna say sharpness is like, to me, like I went to like sharpness and perception. That was like my initial, and then wit.
Yeah, or wisdom. Yeah, like it could be either intelligence or wisdom or dexterity. Yeah, I think agility is good enough, right? I mean, I think that's actually what like the Elder Scrolls use for their dexterity. I definitely I'm 100% sold on vigor for Constitution. That's like life force. That's literally what it is. Intelligence is another easy one. I think we just call it intellect.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I know that's really close to just intelligence, but I don't mind it being close as long as it's evocative.
Yeah. I like the intellect better than intelligence anyway. I don't know. It sounds more
intellectual.
Yeah.
Wisdom could be something that's also more RPG related in fitting. It could be willpower.
Willpower?
Yeah, because honestly, I've never liked. Here's the thing. Here's another philosophical thing. It relates to D&D. I've never liked the idea of wisdom being an ability score, being the name of an ability score. Because if you really think about it, when you gain experience and you level up, you're growing more wise all the time, right?
Yeah.
Granted, sometimes you're gaining other abilities like strength and speed and all that kind of stuff, right? But you're always getting wiser. Wisdom should not be its own ability score thing, because if so, wisdom should be something that gives you a stat to everything. If you're wiser at hitting somebody with a sword, you know where to attack better, right? If you're wiser about how to pick a lock, like wisdom should operate and to me, wisdom is encompassed by experience and level ups. Like it's its own kind of thing. Like I've never really liked that wisdom was what D&D called that, which was meant to signify your ability to resist, things that tax your willpower. So it might as well just simplify it and just call it willpower.
Okay.
You guys think?
My only other thing was like that, like D&D as an example uses wisdom as
I did lower it, Lucy, but I also, because we're doing bandwidth and banter right now, I believe those are turned off. I'm sorry, buddy. I'll try and give you those points back later, man. I feel bad. Yeah, I didn't go off because during bandwidth and banter we have the audio stuff turned off. Although some of it was going off the other day, which was weird. It must have to do with which scene we have it on. I'll try and, I don't know how I give points, but I got off on a tangent. What were you saying there, Drew?
Because so for like a druid or cleric, like the wisdom is like their main ability score, which I also just was like, personally, I was just like, okay, it's just a filler word, right? My initial thought was like primal power, or like
well, that prime. Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, if you think about, I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, because invoking the power of a god or invoking the power of of nature is a very primal, right? And that takes different type of skill set than like studying magics with your intellect. And so, but this is like, that's just throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Right. Just so you know, if you have to think about it, the way it's tied to which saving throw, right?
Yeah.
And so for willpower, it's tied to, your resistance to something that's going to affect your mind.
Yeah.
And that's why I think willpower simplifies it. Your primal idea is a separate kind of argument altogether when we talk about the magic system. I think that I think for our TTRPG we should have two kinds of divine magic, or not technically we'll call it something different, right? But we'll have nature magic. We'll have right now in D&D you have arcane and divine. Yeah. I don't think that's enough. I think you need to have primal or nature magic, natural, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I like primal. That actually works for me. Primal magic. But I think actually they're going to be doing that in 5.5. I think they talked about doing that.
I think that's the part of the 5.5, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to call it. If they're going to call it primal, then we got to come up with something else. But basically, there needs to be... So a healing spell from a druid would be different than a healing spell from a cleric, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that... so they should definitely be different kinds of magic. And I also even think that maybe... there should be two different kinds of arcane, right? I feel like, you can get super overly done with it, but I think that necromancy shouldn't necessarily be arcane. It should be its own kind of type of magic. Whereas all the elemental style magic should fit into arcane, right? But then if you're raising something from the dead, if you're bringing back the dead and making zombies and skeletons and hitting black butt blasters at people and sucking their life force and stuff, that doesn't feel arcane to me. It feels kind of like blood magic or dark magic, right? Or necromancy. And so I feel like maybe we could have four different magic systems. Let's make a note of that. For later conversation, 4 different magic systems. And that would be, arcane, divine, nature, and necro. All right. A healing spell from a necromancer is an entirely different thing, too. Very true. Yeah. Hey, Banana Tom, howdy, you're back. What's up, dude? You've been sucked in. We tried to get you guys to come chat with us, but I know you're probably absorbed by Diablo 4. I'm honestly envious and jealous. You're getting so far ahead of me. What level are you guys now? We're gonna continue though while you share that with us. All right. So far we have. So what do we think with wisdom being changed to willpower?
It makes total sense when you explain it that way.
Okay.
For me, it's like, coming from like, as the druid spellcaster, my spellcasting modifier is my wisdom.
Right.
So am I casting the magic by sheer willpower? That's just kind of like where my brain is coming from. Does that make sense?
Right. I getcha. The idea is that, because you are using your willpower to focus the natural energies into a result.
That makes sense. There was a light bulb. Okay.
Like a regular person who doesn't have that supernatural willpower to be able to alter the forces of nature, right? That's why the higher your willpower, the more you can either alter the forces of nature or resist things that would alter, that would change or stop what you're trying to do.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That also it explains why, you could have a warrior that has a high willpower because he's, good at resisting that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
No, that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
And then power is obviously just strength. If we like power, I don't know. I definitely
power works. It makes a lot of sense.
Does it?
Power, agility, vigor, intellect, willpower, and lastly,
charisma. Yeah, we haven't gotten to charisma yet. I'm holding off on that for a
charm.
second. I don't like power. I want to go back to power. I don't like it. Like it's okay, but I feel like the problem is that power is almost too all-encompassing. Like a mage who wants to understand the universe, he's going up in power. He's gaining power, right? Like just because you're strong doesn't mean you're powerful, right?
Robustness. Stat block equals humanity, full of willpower, able to change the natural world, effect cause climate change.
So you want to can you thesaurus up strength for us?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through them. Some of them are interesting. Clout, courage, durability, energy, firmness, fortitude, health, power, stability, tenacity, toughness, vigor, vitality, backbone, body, brawn, brawniness, force, hardiness, healthiness, lustiness, might,
I kind of like brawn.
muscle.
I kind of like brawn. That actually is more evocative and more focused on what we're talking about. We're talking about your physical muscular strength.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that actually works. I mean, obviously strength is the simplest, but since we're trying to get away from the exact names, I like brawn a lot. What does everyone else think?
Strong, well-developed muscles, muscular strength. That's literally what brawn is.
Yeah, I mean it's more literal, and it drills down to what we're actually trying to evoke from that ability. And whenever you have a strength saving throw, right, it would be how brawny are you? Oh, I'm gonna have this grapple with this owlbear, right? I'm gonna have my muscles are gonna have to overperform the owlbear. So I like it. I like it.
So we have the brawn.
It's different.
We have brawn. Yeah. So brawniness, agility.
Yeah. No, not brawniness, just brawn.
I know.
Brawn, agility, vigor, intellect, willpower.
And
You got an idea?
charm. No, I don't know.
Ooh. No, I like that. You don't like that?
I mean,
I like that.
charm.
I like that because you need to be charming. You need to have the skill. Charm is a skill, right? You can be a natural at it if you're already physically attractive or you're good at speaking eloquently, right? So.
Stormy's quite charming. We all know that. I'm also obnoxiously charming.
Yes, you are. Well, I don't know about the obnoxiously part, but yeah.
Oh.
I mean, you can be obnoxious, but that doesn't mean you're not charming. So I guess you're right. Obnoxiously charming, or charmingly obnoxious. Probably more of that one. I'm kidding.
No. You should see me at work when I'm working. It's interesting.
I like this. I like these. Brawn.
I just have to read. This is a customer comment that I had. I just want to pull it up. And this just goes to the whole charm thing. Obnoxiously. Hold on, I have to make it past the trauma from work the other day. Where is it? No, where did it go? Oh no. Oh no! I'll have to find it. Never mind. I don't. Where did it go? It was in my shift group chat.
So while you're looking, apparently for Banana Tom and Dagoth, the game is that addictive that neither one got the notification for the stream, and apparently trying to keep track of the time is not possible for them because the game sucks you in so much. So.
Okay, the customer comment I got was, unfortunately, I don't know her name, but the barista, long dreadlocks with shaved head portion, it was wildly friendly, attentive, and efficient.
Wildly friendly. I love it. That's so you. So it's actually interesting that you may not be able to play until next weekend, because next week, so this weekend during the pre-beta, the two character classes you can't play are the Necromancer and the Druid. So you can't even make them. So if you wait till next weekend, I mean, if you want to play this weekend, you just make a different character. That's cool too. I don't know what you guys is. You let me know once you guys have the stuff that we talked about worked out, and we'll work it out this weekend. And you let me know what you guys want to do. Okay.
Perfect.
And
if anything, it will be this weekend. There's not this weekend, but the following weekend for sure.
Oh, okay. So I got you. What you're saying is if you can't do it this weekend, then definitely next weekend.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Because I want to make it happen. I'm super stoked, guys.
Oh yeah.
It looks so much fun.
Yeah, Star Kitty is super excited. She had a lot of fun with Diablo 3, and so did I. But there were definitely some choices made with Diablo 3 that I hope they undo by improving upon in Diablo 4. At any rate, off on a tangent. So I think we've really made some great progress here. We have the ability to score names. I feel like we nailed down the progression system. Mm-hmm. Because by level 10, you're going to start feeling powerful with these ability scores. You're always going to get something to put somewhere, something to do with your character. What?
Are feats going to be a thing?
Yeah, I'll probably call them something else besides feats. But I definitely, that is a system that was added in third edition onward. Didn't exist before. I think in second ed, they had some sort of something, but it wasn't exactly that. But I like the idea of having these special abilities that, I don't know, just add nuance to your character. Iltacine likes the 3.5 inch feats over the 5th ed feats. Yeah, for the most part, I agree with you, Iltacine. I like the 3.5 edition feats were way better. They also had a lot more of them. Of course, they're adding more 5th ed feats all the time. But the way, I don't know, they balanced them though, because some of them were unbalanced in 3.5. In 5th ed, they're a little bit better balanced. But then again, they've also made some mistakes. Like the lucky feat is kind of borked. But
yeah, and like in my class, the druid class that I'm playing, like there wasn't a lot of really good feats for me to start like taking that made sense for my character. Of course, I would absolutely love to be able to Misty Step. That'd be cool. But like, is that really feasible for my character right now? No.
Was that a feat you could take? What feat was that?
That's called like hold on. Fey touched something.
Ah.
Hold on.
I didn't know that's something you're interested in. You should have told me, because I can definitely figure out some ways within the story and background to make that work. But
well then.
Ow.
Well, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't think Fern needs to Misty Step. I don't think.
I don't know. I feel like actually, in some ways, it is better for her because she tries to get out of combat, or sometimes she likes to get into combat. Like yours is a unique druid. Druids in 5th ed were meant to be sort of. I turn into this bear and tank with the fighter or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And occasionally cast some spells too, and like you could go, or you could go the focus route where you're more of a ranged spellcaster like you did. In which case, it would make sense that if you're Fey touched, you would be able to do this kind of, misty step thing in nature, and I could definitely see that. But
Well then, let's do it.
Iltacine says inserts headband of misty step into next loot cache. I mean, it's
I have
true.
a headband of wisdom, so I have a pretty big wisdom right now. I'm happy with my wisdom headband.
Well, the thing is something that that we have done in our campaign that I haven't seen done with 5th Ed, but I have seen done in 3.5 is to take a feat and put it on as an enchantment on an item. And I think that works really well because it allows people to get extra abilities that fit within the context of the game and within the balance of the game, right? So
And you can also just, with our next level up, you could just be like, you are now magically teleported. Yay!
you need to stop.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the next level up, though.
Okay.
Fern's next level up is...
Crosses out headband and replaces it with necklace.
I'm very excited about this whole new game system, the Storm Saga game system.
Yeah. Me too, buddy. Me too.
I'm gonna have to make I'm gonna have to get another notebook. Oh no. Just for this. So I have a separate notebook for Bandwidth and Banter interviews and other things, and then Bandwidth and Banter notebook for D&D discussion or tabletop RPG discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need another notebook.
I need to look at something real quick.
And I didn't even think I would actually enjoy writing a notebook that's gridded. But I actually really like the gridded notebooks. Idea for you too? Ooh, what? Yes. Yes, Iltacine. This is why we are streaming it. We want your ideas.
Yes, share this idea quickly. We have 5 minutes left.
How? How did this hour and a half go?
Move notes to the digital age. Use Evernote for organization of your notes. Oh. You're suggesting for our process of making this, instead of putting it on pencil and paper, that we use a tool that's called Evernote, which is like a digital notebook that we can share with each other? Neato.
I absolutely love that idea. I will say though, for my own for how my brain works, if I physically write it down on pen and paper, I'm more likely to remember it.
Yeah.
And then we can transfer it over to a digital notebook.
Right. And I really do appreciate the thought, Iltacine.
Yeah.
But we also have a shared Google Drive that we're sharing docs digitally. So
yeah.
No, it is a great thought, Iltacine, and we actually are already sort of doing it. But the fact that he brought up this Evernote means it's probably a really cool app. So I mean, it's something that we can investigate. So
it's okay. I'm just gonna write it in my notebook.
Right. And then when we get, but his point is valid in that now we're going to have to transfer everything we wrote down on paper into our digital savings, right? So
yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the long run, since we're going to be doing a lot of this process here on stream with each other, the pen and paper actually is easier, at least for me. Typing it in and having a screen. Now, if I had a third monitor, then I'd be fine. I could do it, but I don't have a third monitor set up, so.
Yeah. It helps having like just quick jot down of a quick note, and then going back in more thoroughly after the fact. But the transfer process will help with the memory retention That's why taking notes helps with memory. Anyway, exactly.
Yeah,
So me
you're right.
jotting down a quick note in the notebook and then translating it, we'll probably have like a whole fun little section of that bandwidth and banter drive.
Right.
Because we're gonna have to make a whole separate one for the TTRPG.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, so, yeah.
But what's great is that today my handwriting is legible.
It's legible. Whoa, look at that.
You should see it. Hold on, let me find a. And here's some older bandwidth and banter notes.
Wow.
Can you read them? No.
No. You can probably after you decipher it for a while. Well, I think this has been a phenomenal session. And as always, it's been such a joy to hang out with Druid and with you guys. And I love that we made some early progress on this concept.
Yeah.
And we should probably try and set a like a deadline, a goal, right, of some kind. That yeah, I don't know. I have to think about in terms of how long it will take to get through. I have to try and figure out how long it would take to get through this campaign, because it would be nice to have this at least mostly figured out for our next campaign, you know?
Yeah. I think we can definitely talk more about it on our meeting on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel if we manage to tackle at least a major thing every other week, and then we could fine tune it on like meetings or whatever.
Yeah, maybe, you know, now that you bring it up, it occurs to me that it's possible we may end up having to do an interim campaign, 5th ed or something, or 3.5 or something, and then just like a short, like, you know, like, because it might take us through the end of the year to be able to complete this project.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yep.
We could you could do like a hardcore, like, if you play another campaign before you play this, try 13th Age. That.
Oh, I'll look into it. Thank you. Now you're about to say something there, Druid?
Oh, I was gonna be like, you could do like a mad mage, where we just make a whole bunch of characters and just like multiple characters. We just try to survive the mad mage's tower. It's just a bunch of mystery RPG or mystery and like combat, and it's just crazy, and like we'll have like cycle through a bunch of different characters.
Oh yeah.
The mad mage.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Great progress. Looking good. And so much fun.
Iltacine came up with some great points and ideas too. So big, huge shout out to Iltacine today.
Yes. I think I'm going to go ahead and give him another because it's probable.
Oh, guys in chat, if you guys did not manage to watch our live interview with Iltacine, it is now currently live on YouTube. You are now able to go see our live our interview on YouTube. I'm trying to multitask finding it
is true.
while typing or while talking. So it is now live.
I think I'm out of beach to it.
You did.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That is not directly to the video, so if you want to post one that's directly to that's just to the channel. Iltacine's was the most recent interview that went live this morning at 10 a.m. So.
It went live.
All righty. Well, Druid, it's been a pleasure. Thank you as always. And
Absolutely.
we'll chat a few minutes about what, the other thing we're doing. And man, everybody, thank you all for joining us for Bandwidth and Banter. Finish it up for us, Druid. Oh, what?
I was going to say, do you want to announce who we're going to be interviewing next?
Oh, yeah. You guys got to be on the lookout next Friday because we have a very special guest, an old friend of the channel. You know who it is, Druid.
Technology.
Yeah.
We are interviewing our little toxic pixie.
I know, right? It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be so much fun and funny. I know it. Artology Inc. She's come a long way in the time that we've known her, and we're so proud of how much she's accomplished with her art stream. Mm-hmm. And she's a character. She's absolutely just the most adorable, interesting character. Right on, Altacine. Fantastic, yeah. So we'll be interviewing her next Friday, and be on the lookout.
Yeah.
Come see us. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.